Hey y'all, Fat Man Outdoors. Caught me in a time when I'm sorting brass from my last run to the range. Fortunately, we have a lot of folks that shoot at my range that are not at my range, but at the range where I go, that don't care about policing up their brass, and I do. Most of that is all once fired 5.56, almost all of it. Most of it's actually Winchester 223 and Remington 223. So, good deal. Now I've got more. I've got a bunch more that I got to bag up. I was just sorting through it. I got them all sorted out. I got everything in here from 6.5 Grendel to 7mm .08. 30-06, you name it, I've picked up at the range, buckets full of it. But what I wanted to get started on today is I want to kind of show y'all what I do when I get ready to set up to do a reload. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reload some 243 Winchester. It's what my daughter deer hunts with, and I want to get her few fresh rounds reloaded up and ready for deer season, and now's the time to do it when you ain't in the woods. So there's several processes and trains of thought I try to use when I do this. You'll notice I've got a set of dies here. It's got 4 dies in it. It's got a full length resizing die. It's got a bullet seating die, a factory crimp die, but it also has a neck sizing collet die. So that if I don't want to full length resize these rounds, I could just size the neck and not have to put so much work on the brass. But some of this brass has been shot through my daughter's rifle, but most of it hasn't. So I'm going to go ahead and full length resize all of them, and then they'll be put in a container marked for her rifle. And whenever they're fired, all I'll have to do is just neck size them. Every couple of maybe 3 times we shoot them, push the neck, the shoulder back a couple thousandths, and be in good shape. But for this round, they're going to get full length resized. What I'm going to use is I'm going to decap them and full length resize them on my little Lee press. As long as you keep them lubricated, they'll be great. But before we get to that point, now in the 4570 series, you notice we had an issue with Hornady cases, okay? And again, I don't get it. I don't understand it, because now this is a Hornady and Winchester 243 case side by side. They are within a 1,000th, maybe 1.5 thousandths of each other. They'll be right between 2.38 and 2.40, and I don't understand why they did that with their 4570, but they did. They made them quite a bit shorter, about 60 thousandths shorter. But what I've got that I want to reload here is about 50 of these. So what I've done here, I keep me a notebook, and I always start a page when I'm going to start a reload. Now what I put on the page is the very first thing, I put the caliber and the die set that I'm loading it with. That's very important. That's very, very important, because now you can get other brands of dies and they're supposed to be semi-spec, but that don't mean they are. Okay, so I write all that down. Now I'm going to write down the brands of brass that I'm using. And now I've decided on a bullet weight. I want to go with 80 grains. That's not too light, where it's not going to have much impact, and I've got some good ballistics off of 80 grain bullet that I've gotten through Federal, and I'm going to use it. Now here's the thing with these 80 grain bullets. I've got 3 different reloading datas laying here in front of me. 3. Okay, one is the reloading data that came with the Lee reloading kit. And if we come down here and we look at IMR 4064, which is what I'm going to load with. I've had real good luck with accuracy and temperature variance not bothering it that much. This pamphlet says the start grain is 37.5 and don't exceed 41. And at 41 grains, you'll be shooting 3,320 feet per second. And it calls for between 37.5 and 41. That's your minimum and maximum. Now, here's the weird thing I want to show you. Let me move some stuff back over here. That if you look in the 80 grain in the Lee reloading manual, written by Richard Lee. This is the 50th, I think, or sorry, the second edition. I'm sorry, my Lyman's is the 50th. This is second edition, and in this one it says starting load for the IMR 4064 on an 80 grain solid bullet, 34 grain to start, and do not exceed 36.3 with 3,134 feet per second. And that will give you a pressure of about 57,600 pounds. So my concern is who wrote down this information, because this is a Lee reloading manual that come out of the die kit when I bought the die kit, and it says for the exact same powder, IMR 4064, minimum load to start with 37.5, don't exceed 41. The Lee manual, the big Lee book, with the same powder, IMR 4064, says start load 34, don't exceed 36.3. I don't understand that. That's very confusing. And on theirs, they say at 41 you're going to get 3,320 feet per second. Now on this one, it says you're going to get 3,134 feet per second at 36.3. So it's kind of confusing. If you're trying to reload and you're doing this and you're just starting out, and you're looking at the same manufacturer wrote both pages, but they're different, okay? And that can be very confusing, and don't ask me how to answer that, because now I'm going to look in the Lyman book. All right? Now in the Lyman book, this is the 50th edition Lyman book, IMR 4064, it says starting load 34. What did it say over here? Starting load, get back to where I was at here. Starting load 34. In the manual, not on the paper come in the dies, but the book itself. It's in the Lyman book, it matches it. It says with IMR 4064, 34 grains suggested start weight. Okay, and then it comes over here and it says maximum load in this cartridge will be 39.5. Okay, let's see what this Lee manual said that the maximum would be. 36.3. So again, it's very strange that they say the same start weight, 34 grains, the Lyman's does and the Lee, both of them say the same start weight, but the Lee says the maximum not to exceed is 36.3, whereas the Lyman says the maximum is 39.5. So what you got to kind of do is you have to kind of fish, okay? You have to kind of put yourself in the frame of mind of where do I feel safe, where do I feel comfortable. So what I do is I'll usually load up 5 rounds of 3 different grains. I'm not going to go close to the minimum, and I'm not going to go close to the maximum. I'm going to try to find an area right in the middle that I feel comfortable, and I'm going to do it in half grain increments. And if I see that the groups are tightening up one way or the other, or getting bigger one way or the other, then I'll know I need to go that direction. Maybe a couple more 5 round loads at half grain increments to get the gun down to pull all the accuracy out of it I can. But 34 grains being the lowest weight that I have listed as a restart, as a start grain weight, and 39.5 being the highest. So I'm just going to go 34 and 39. So if I set in there at 36, 36 and a half, 37, and maybe 37 and a half. And I think that 37 and a half was right at what the Lee pamphlet called. The Lee pamphlet said don't exceed 41. Okay, maybe it was over here in this one. Yeah, the Lee book says don't exceed 36.3. So what I'm thinking is that 36, 36.5, 37. That's going to keep me at a happy medium where all three of these reloading guides tell me that's a safe number with IMR 4064. It's not going to be a compressed load, I don't think. You're going to have plenty of case capacity at 36, 36 and a half, and 37. So I'm going to write that down on my book here. Now I'm going to put out here what my bullet weight's going to be, which is 80 grain solid. Now it's going to be a copper jacketed bullet, but the end will be open, will just be lead for the bullet to have a jump start on expansion. It won't be a hollow point. It's better off for you, I think, in my opinion, to use a projectile that's going to penetrate, open up a little bit, and it's going to hit a vital. So if you get in a lung shot, or you get in a heart shot, that deer's not going far. And most of the time, with a good rifle and a good scope, you can double lung a deer pretty easy if you pay attention to your shot placement. But now let's, I'm going to move the camera and show you a little bit of full length resizing and decapping some of these, and then I'll let you go. Alright y'all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a few of these at a time in this plastic bag. And what I've got in this jug right here, spray bottle, is heat, the gas treatment heat down in this bottle with some lanolin. You can get lanolin at Walmart and heat at Walmart and mix it together. Comes out, makes a real good bullet lube. Just put about 3 good sprays in there. Mix them up. And I'll just leave that bag open and sitting right there and let that heat evaporate away. And when it does, the only thing it'll leave is just the lubricant. Now I'm going to take my full length resizing die with a decapper. Start it in there. I always have trouble getting these doggone shell holders out of those cases. I wish they would make them where they was just sitting on a little pedestal instead of down in a hole. That's really aggravating. But anyway, so what we'll do, we'll push the ram all the way up. And we'll screw the resizing die. Make sure the ram stays down. Make sure it's getting down there to it. Alright, now I'm going to pull the ram down just a little, turn it just a tad, maybe 1/8 of a turn, hold it, tighten down the retention nut. And that's basically all there is to it. Now we're ready, doing the very first step, which is of course spent primer out and resizing the case so that we know it'll fit our chamber. So just do that. Very slick, very easy. Check the case. Now this is where I do a lot of case inspection. It is resizing. I look at the case pretty good after it comes through the resizer and make sure that there's no signs of case separation. Make sure that the necks all look good, because like I said, I'm not ashamed to admit I pick up brass. Hey man, that stuff is expensive. You start going to buy it, and every little thing you can do to save yourself money, better off you're going to be. I don't believe I'm going to end up having to trim any of these, but after I get these right here ran through the press and and sized properly. Then we'll measure them. You can really feel that lanolin on them. There's a lot of that lanolin on them. That stuff's good stuff. I use that exclusively unless there's only one round I don't use it on, and that's if I'm 577 450 Martini Henry. Those cases are so big and there's so much surface area. I use Imperial on those. They're you know, a big case, it's good too. I think I may have even used Imperial when I done the 4570. I don't necessarily always use Imperial when doing the 4570, but sometimes I will. So now we've got the ones I'm going to decap. I'm going to real quickly get situated and get my primer set up in my hand primer, and we'll get that done, and then you guys will be on your way. Alright y'all, this is what I'm going to use to prime them with. It's large rifle primers, just standard load Winchester rifle primers. They're about as good a primer as you get, about as dependable, I think, as the ones that you can buy. But I like them real well, but that's what we're going to use. And works the same way as it did with the 4570. I'll turn this little gate on. Let the primers roll down in there. He's already got one picked up. Pushed up in there, you can feel it bottom out. Pull it out. And I always like to check them. That one feels good. Alright. That one feels good. Oh yeah, them are popping right on up in there. Let's take a look at one of those real good. They're good and flat. They're not raised up. Okay. Boy, this thing's slick. Works real nice. Presto! Alright, I already had all these done, so you wouldn't have to sit through that, but I done these few right here. I think there's 10 of them. Just to show you the process, just showing you how easy it is to full length resize these. I'll probably anneal them after this firing, and then they'll be good until about the third firing. That I won't have to anneal them again, and I won't have to full length resize them till then. But guys, that's all there is to it. We'll bring the next step to you when we're ready to go with it. This is the Fat Man, and I'm gone. Hey guys, if you liked the video, hit subscribe. Don't forget to click that bell so you get notifications the next time we put out a video. Appreciate you. It's the Fat Man. I'm gone.